Throughout history, mighty empires have risen and fallen. The Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Ottomans. In the early 1990s, another empire teetered on the precipice of oblivion. Not one built on conquered territories, but on precision engineering. Porsche, the legendary marque that had dominated motorsport, was facing extinction. The company that had created the immortal 911 was now itself mortal, with bankruptcy lawyers circling like vultures. However, empires sometimes find salvation in the most unexpected forms. For Porsche, redemption wouldn't come from another track-focused supercar, but it arrived in something purists initially scorned: a mid-engine roadster with a price tag that actual humans could aspire to. What began as a desperate gamble became the company's salvation. The Boxster wasn't just a car, it was Porsche's Phoenix moment. This is the story of how it rose from financial ashes to ensure Porsche would continue its gallop into a new millennium. The 1980s were Porsche's golden era. Picture Stuttgart's finest, dominating roads and racetracks alike, while their accountants struggled to count the mounting profits. The 911 had achieved legendary status. With its unmistakable silhouette, wealthy enthusiasts endured lengthy waiting lists just for the privilege of ownership. But what goes up must come down. And Porsche's descent was as dramatic as watching a 959 supercar slam into a concrete wall. By the early 1990s, this automotive titan found itself teetering on the edge of oblivion. The first cracks appeared in their aging lineup. The venerable 911 was showing its 32 years, while the 928 had been around for 18 years with only cosmetic updates. Porsche had become the automotive equivalent of that rock band still playing their hits from decades ago. But that wasn't all. Behind the scenes, Porsche's manufacturing methods belonged in a museum rather than a modern factory. While Japanese competitors had embraced efficient production techniques, Porsche's craftsmen required an astonishing 120 hours to assemble a single vehicle, nearly triple the industry standard. External forces also delivered additional blows. When the global recession of the early 90s hit, luxury car sales evaporated almost overnight. Even die-hard Porsche enthusiasts struggled to justify such extravagance in uncertain economic times. The numbers told a horrifying story. Annual sales plummeted from over 50,000 vehicles in 1986 to a catastrophic 6,600 by 93. For a small, independent manufacturer without the safety net of a larger corporate parent, this trajectory pointed toward bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Japanese manufacturers were offering compelling alternatives at a fraction of the Porsche prices. The Mazda RX-7, Nissan 300ZX, and Toyota Supra delivered comparable performance with superior reliability and modern features. The automotive industry had all but written Porsche's obituary. But there was one man who had other ideas. That man was Wendelin Wiederking, who stepped into the role of CEO in '92. With a daunting mandate to rescue a sinking ship, he faced a critical decision that would determine whether Porsche survived or joined the graveyard of other automotive legends. The traditional approach would have been doubling down on creating even more expensive, rarefied models. But instead, Wiederking contemplated something that made purists shudder. What if we made Porsche more accessible rather than more exclusive? Well, this was easier said than done. But as executives debated their limited options, an unexpected source of inspiration emerged from Japan: the wildly successful Mazda MX-5 Miata. This affordable roadster had revitalized a segment many considered dead, proving consumers still craved open-top driving experiences, if the price was right. This revelation sparked a controversial idea. Why not create something smaller, lighter, and more affordable? A modern interpretation of the iconic 550 Spider from the 50s. The concept represented a dramatic shift for a company that had built its identity on exclusivity, and the internal resistance was immediate and fierce. Many executives feared a cheaper Porsche would tarnish the brand's prestigious image. But with extinction looming, Wiedeking pushed forward with determination. In January 1993, Porsche unveiled their new car concept, the Boxster, at the Detroit Auto Show, and the response was nothing short of electric. The sleek roadster became the undisputed star of the show, with its mid-engine layout and minimalist design. This wasn't just another concept car destined to be forgotten. The Boxster represented Porsche's all-in bet on its own survival, a last desperate gamble that would either resurrect the company or become its final failure. The stakes couldn't have been higher. After decades of commitment to its traditions, Porsche was betting everything on reinvention. But reinvention meant more than just a new model. It required Porsche to fundamentally rethink how they built cars. This proud German manufacturer, steeped in tradition, was now forced to admit that the Japanese might have known something they didn't. For Porsche, this humbling realization would transform not only the Boxster, but the sacred 911 itself. Behind the scenes at Porsche's headquarters, Wiedeking was orchestrating a revolution far more radical than anything the public could see. He brought in former Toyota consultants to completely overhaul their production methods. In the sacred halls of German engineering, this was like hiring Italian chefs to teach Germans how to make beer. And the Japanese consultants didn't mince their words. Porsche's manufacturing processes weren't just inefficient, they were old-fashioned. What followed was a brutal implementation of lean manufacturing principles that sent shockwaves through the company, and the results were staggering. Assembly time per car dropped from 120 hours to just 72 hours, while defect rates were slashed by half. But Wiedeking's revolution went beyond just assembly techniques. He championed another heretical idea. The Boxster and the upcoming 911 would share components, a lot of them. This was ludicrous, yet the financial logic was undeniable. This sharing strategy slashed development costs and simplified manufacturing, bringing the production cost for each Boxster to under £17,000, a figure that would have been impossible under Porsche's old system. What emerged was a leaner, more agile Porsche, one that maintained its engineering DNA while achieving a level of manufacturing efficiency that seemed impossible just years earlier. While the transformed factory stood ready, the real question hanging over Stuttgart wasn't just whether people would buy the Boxster, it was whether Porsche would survive long enough to build it. Those 4 years between concept and production felt like an eternity for a company on life support. But when the production Boxster finally reached dealerships in late 1996, something extraordinary happened. Customers weren't just interested, they were desperate to own one. Waiting lists formed almost overnight, filled with names Porsche had never seen in their customer files before. And the Boxster didn't just sell well, it became a phenomenon. From 1996 through 2003, this entry-level Porsche consistently outsold the venerable 911, moving an astonishing 165,000 units worldwide. These weren't just impressive numbers for a sports car maker on the brink of collapse. They represented one of the most successful models in Porsche's entire history. The financial resurrection bordered on miraculous. The company that had been hemorrhaging money just a few years earlier transformed into a profit-generating powerhouse. Wall Street analysts who had been writing Porsche's obituary were now studying its revival as a business school case study. This newfound stability gave Porsche something it hadn't possessed in years: breathing room to plan its future. With the Boxster's success securing its foundation, the company could now afford to take another calculated risk. Development began on the Cayenne SUV, which launched in 2002 and propelled Porsche's expansion into entirely new segments, further cementing the company's remarkable comeback. The Boxster's impact extended far beyond balance sheets. It became a cultural touchstone of the late 1990s and early 2000s, representing attainable luxury and sporting success. Perhaps most importantly, the Boxster expanded Porsche's demographic reach. The company had successfully attracted younger, less affluent buyers without alienating its traditional customer base. The Boxster didn't just rescue Porsche financially. It established a blueprint for how legendary brands can reinvent themselves while preserving their soul. This delicate balancing act between heritage and progress isn't unique to Porsche. Ford with the Mustang and BMW with the Mini have walked similar tightropes, demonstrating that automotive icons must evolve to endure. The Boxster's greatest legacy may be proving that a company's heart beats not in its past glories, but in its courage to reimagine its future.